All right, we are back this morning for another video discussion, and today we're going to be talking all things turkey. Hopefully you guys can hear us okay. We got a highway pretty close to us with some semis driving by. But anyway, wanted to start off, we're going to talk about kind of how we turkey hunt and the style that we approach each and every year, some of the areas that we look for in turkey sign. And then I wanted to start off, I just saw an article this week from the NWTF. It was kind of predicting what this season's going to be like. Turkey seasons are already opening across the country, and then ours here in Ohio is about a month away. It was basically saying for the Midwestern states we should have a pretty solid year as far as gobbling turkey goes, and that's because 2 years ago, the hatch that we had, so the turkeys that were born that year, there was good habitat available to them, good food, good weather conditions. So those birds are now 2-year-old toms that, if you're a turkey hunter, you know, gobble their brains out.
We like 2-year-olds.
Yeah, especially lonely ones.
Yep.
So that should be fun, and hopefully that holds true. We noticed last year in this part of Ohio anyway, it seemed like the bird numbers were way down.
We kind of struggled.
Way down. But you were saying that that's kind of the norm from an article you read.
That was a different article that I read. Is they were kind of questioning whether the numbers that we were seeing last year are the numbers of turkey populations kind of leveling out. The years prior, it was kind of, I don't even want to say peaking, but even more so than that. And now we're kind of trending downwards to find that right level balance for the population of turkeys given the habitat and food available to them. So
4 or 5 years ago we were spoiled basically.
Yeah. Last year was not quite the case, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that holds true in Ohio and Kentucky.
We're heading to Kentucky first, as always, and then obviously we'll hunt here in Ohio. We might plan a trip after, depending on how successful we are in Ohio. But regardless, we've been seeing a lot of birds, and I think that's something we want to talk about. We get questions sometimes about, you know, how we turkey hunt or how we scout, and I think that's the biggest part of turkey hunting is scouting, and we didn't really do that as much in the past as we have the last few years, and I think that really starts now. There's obviously a split, as we refer to it, in the turkey population. They're really grouped up this time of year, but a lot of times you'll catch those stragglers that at least stay close. So if you can scout some properties and get permission to hunt them, I think that makes your life a heck of a lot easier come April and May.
It's a good starting point, to reference and then fan out from there to find where the flock split up.
For sure. And we have some properties that I'm thinking that we've had a lot of success on over the years, and since we've landed that first initial property to hunt, just because we've learned so much about what the birds do, we've been able to kind of navigate and ask other landowners if we can hunt. And so then you really have a lot of room to work with if they do kind of do a different thing each year, depending on the crops or, you know, the weather or the amount of hens available, things like that.
Yeah, we've started to break down the properties that we had permission on, learn the birds, figure out what they're doing on other properties too, and then, you know, go after permission on that property, and then start picking that property away. So.
Right, absolutely. Which I think is funny because growing up I thought, you know, okay, you have permission to hunt on a property, let's go turkey hunting, but it's really not like that around here. There's properties that just straight up
don't have turkeys.
Don't hold turkeys.
There's a lot of them like that, actually.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot of properties that you will see a flock of them during deer season, and then for whatever reason, there isn't a straggler that sticks around and stays in that spot.
Which we get that a lot.
For sure.
You can go turkey hunt my property, and then you go out there in the spring.
Yep.
Not a bird to be found.
Yep. Landowners saying, "Oh, I see them, huge flocks of them." Yep. They don't understand the split.
Which you would think, if there is a big flock there, at some point in the winter, that when they do split up, a few would stick around. But
it's not always the case.
Not always the case.
I wonder
for whatever reason.
It could be that terrain is part of that too. I mean, we don't have where we don't have rolling hills really, so maybe that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the hens too. I think they go to areas that maybe are better for nesting for them specifically, and the toms are going to be where they are. So
yeah, I was going to say the biggest thing it probably changes between winter and spring would be vegetation, habitat.
Right. Yeah, the greening up of all the undergrowth.
It changes things big time. So I kind of wonder if that's one of the bigger factors that plays into it.
For sure. Moral of the story, if you're looking to get into turkey hunting or if you're new to it, find a property that holds turkeys during the spring. It's going to make your life a heck of a lot easier. And don't get frustrated if you're hunting a property and going out in the morning and not hearing any gobbles saying, what am I doing wrong? They literally just might not be there.
Yeah.
Which I think segues to the next topic. We are very big on roosting turkeys the night prior. Like, I feel like most of the turkeys we kill, we have a really good game plan going into that hunt. We're not just going out there willy-nilly in the morning, listening to a gobble and then going after them. More times than not, we're there the night before. We damn near know exactly what tree they're in.
Yeah.
And I
Which
think that,
Dave Owen says that. He says there's a difference between roosting a turkey and knowing the general area where he's at.
right.
So if you go to a, even public access or a property you have permission to hunt, and you're able to get him to Gobblers gobbling on his own the evening prior, know where he's at, if at all possible. Don't go in there
sure.
and bust him off the tree, but if you can figure out where he's at and drop a pin on whatever app you use, get in there in the morning early, long before he ever wakes up, and get close to that tree.
Yeah.
That increases your odds of
Absolutely.
actually killing that bird by a lot.
I think is a misconception too, though. A lot of people think, like, when we talk about getting close to deer bedding, they're talking like 60, 70 yards is probably pushing the limits.
Yeah.
We've walked right 15 yards underneath roosted birds before.
Yeah.
Well, that's
by knowing where the tree's at. So you can get really close if you're stealthy getting in there.
Sure. Well, that's what I was just going to mention as well. I think it all started, you and I hunting small block of woods up the road. We used to think when we first started turkey hunting, you get in there, right before sunrise and you got to set up on them. We'll get up now at 2, 3 in the morning and we'll slide in right under their tree. You got to think when it's pitch black out, they're number one, asleep. Number two, they have deer and possums and raccoons and all kinds of stuff walking under their tree all night long. They can't see in the dark. So if you know your way in and you can at least be quiet, you can, we've set up that one Corey killed a few years back. We set up underneath of his tree, which wasn't ideal, but we ended up killing him because of that. So
he pitched down 20 yards into a field and Corey got a 20-yard shot.
So also makes a difference is think about where they might pitch down to.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might overlook that, but if you don't know the terrain real well, or if it's a property you're not real familiar with, also use those apps that hopefully you've got his location marked, and then get on there, look at your satellite image or whatever, and then also look at the topography and look at that as well, because that's going to play into where he might, hopefully, you'll be able to predict where he's going to want to go.
So you got a bird on the roost, and the night before you're trying to figure out where he's going to fly down. What's your game plan to try to come up with that strategy?
A lot of it's, for me, is at least if I saw them fly up, a lot of times I fly down from where they flew up from, whether that's like an initial feeding area, like a field, or an area with a lot of acorns. That's why we find like roost trees with feathers and scat and all that jazz, because they usually fly down, not always, but somewhat close to it if they're undisturbed and unbothered. So if you watch them fly up the night before.
Which makes sense, because it's probably indicative that they're flying up from a spot where it's free of debris, where they can actually,
they've got a clear lane to the branch they want to get to.
Yeah, so more than likely, depending on what, the rest of the stuff around them looks like, it makes sense that they would come back down. But they also say take the high ground if you can as a hunter. As soon as you do it, it's going to shoot you right in the foot. It happens to us every year. I would say, I think that's more of a generalization.
For sure.
If you don't have a better plan.
Yep.
Take the high ground. I think, open areas, fields, they love to fly down into fields.
Yeah, we've had that high ground thing, you're right, work out for us and then bite us in the butt. I just saw a YouTube video, don't even know who it was, but this Tom flew down and this guy was at the bottom of like a mountain and this thing came flying down it. I was like, that goes against everything everyone says. But.
Yeah, you'll see them glide 500 yards off of their limb, or they'll fly 40 yards from the base of their tree.
I think this is a good life lesson too, though, and this is translatable to life in general, to deer hunting and to turkey hunting and everything in between. And that is, regardless of what the experts say, it doesn't matter how many articles you read. You will come into an anomaly that doesn't fit the mold that all the experts want you to believe.
Yep, they're wild animals.
The best way to learn a turkey or a population of turkeys is to hunt them, figure out what they tend to do and what they tend not to do, and then game plan from there.
Yep, that's a great point. For like you said, with anything, I think as soon as you fall into that trap of, well, they said to do it this way, you lost.
Just a real narrow-minded, this is what they're going to do. It's not.
sure.
Yeah.
Especially with turkey hunting, it seems like while they all speak the same language across the country, given any day, they gobble 100 times on the roost. The next day, they don't make a peep. Like
Next day, they sit on the limb till 10:30 in the morning.
You never know. So something now. So Jake, you talked about them pitching down. I wanted to talk about the bubble. We've been referring to that. I've heard other guys refer to it, but that really, I think, held true last year with the turkey I shot with you.
Yep.
And what we mean by that is it seems like there's a radius around that turkey, especially if he has hens, that if you're calling to him, if you're out of that bubble, he might gobble, he might respond, he might even come a little closer, but he's not going to commit to you. If you can close that distance and get within his bubble, and I don't know what that does, if it just sets a fire under his rear end or what, but it seems like they'll close the distance and commit completely. Last year, the turkey I shot in Ohio, we were calling to from probably, 100 yards, 150 yards away, responded often, was a pretty vocal turkey. It wasn't until we got within, 50 to 70 yards, and he came on a dime, just right to us. So I think if you're chasing turkeys, don't be afraid to get into that bubble. Again, I think people are just like walking in early in the morning close to the roost. They're scared to crawl or to approach or to use the terrain, and they just kind of stay stationary.
Yeah, that plays into our style. I think a lot of people, especially in our area of Ohio, maybe not so much when you get into southern Ohio, but like our area, people go to a field, they set up on the edge of the field and they wait.
Either against a tree or in a blind,
Right.
and they're limited in where they can go.
They're limited to where they can go. They're limited to the terrain that they can use to their advantage, and that's just the way they've learned to hunt.
Right.
Whereas,
it can work. But
absolutely.
It's not ideal oftentimes.
No.
It's not near as fun.
No, it's not near as fun. So definitely getting into the bubble is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. We were guilty of that. I remember vividly being like, no, like we're gonna spook them. Yeah, they have great eyesight and they're smart wild animals, but I think you can get away with a lot more than people think.
Yeah, if you're smart about it. But yeah, that was like yours. He was gobbling quite a bit, and we kind of sat there and debated what to even do, and then we ended up going to the bottom of that hill, called, and he was coming right away.
Immediately.
Right away.
Yep.
And it wasn't like he was coming through, a nice open field. He was coming through some stuff.
Yeah, yep.
Like,
for sure.
he was coming through some gnarly stuff. Flew over a small creek.
Yep.
Just to come check out what might be a hen.
And I don't know, maybe it's because they're like lazy in a sense. Like maybe he already had hens, we couldn't tell. And it's like, I'm not going to go all the way over there, I'm good. But then as soon as you close that distance, they're kind of like, it's just right over there. That's kind of what I think probably goes through their head.
For a turkey, that's not how the game's supposed to be played. The hen comes to the tom.
Right.
He just looks pretty, sits up on his high hill, gobbles away, and lets all the hens come to him. So I think that also plays into it, is he knows you're supposed to come to him. So when you're gobbling out there, or you're calling to him out there at 200 yards, and then maybe you give him just a little bit, he's like, I can go round her up real quick. She's only 60 yards away. Let me go wrangle her and get back to my flock.
I'm in the mood.
Yeah. I'll take one more. What's one more?
Oh, man. So I think moral of what we've talked about so far, and just to kind of wrap all that into a basket, don't be afraid to get aggressive when you're turkey hunting. Educate yourself and put in the work. I think that you can never be too prepared, and if you're willing, we log a ton of miles. I don't even want to know. A ton of miles on our trucks, lots of gas money, driving around almost every evening, and starting right now, like we're doing this every evening, every morning, looking for turkeys, finding properties to hunt, going out to areas we know that we can hunt and that have turkeys, and trying to roost them, figure out what they're doing at what times. Like, don't be afraid to do all that stuff. It's only going to help you.
We're out on properties we don't have permission to hunt, watching birds that we're hoping might break off and go to properties that we might be able to get permission to hunt.
Yeah, it's a great point. Plus, we just like watching them.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I was out sleeping on some public land this morning, 20 yards or 20 minutes away, just hoping to hear a bird.
Yeah, some of the stuff we do, people are just like, what? You're how old?
I know, my mom's like, you're getting up on March 15th to go listen to turkeys, or whatever, March 19th.
Oh, man. So what else is there that we didn't cover about a kind of our style?
Well, I think one of the things we should talk about is our preference for shotguns and shotgun load over archery and ground blind setups.
Great point, yeah. bow hunting turkeys is cool. Turkeys were made to be shot in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's the way God intended. It is.
Yep. And I don't know when that changed for me, but I think it goes back to maybe not even so much what you're shooting them with, but how you hunt them. Because setting up over the field and just plop down, yeah, with a bow, sure, there's no work you got to put in,
Well,
really.
and if you've got a bird that's in the right mood, you've got the right decoy set up out in front of you, you can get a tom to come in, beat the snot out of your decoys, and have a good hunt.
Yeah.
Shoot them with a bow and arrow and track blood for 50, 60 yards and find a bird.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. But yeah, walking through terrain, getting in close to their roost, maybe making a play on them. We prefer the shotgun. Now, if you use a bow, that's awesome. If it makes you happy, do it.
It
That's
definitely
sweet.
takes skill to
Yeah,
do it.
oh,
Like,
for sure.
it's impressive. And I give
kill
props
zone
to
is
anybody.
so small.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
for
just being
sure.
able to actually be able to draw on it without getting busted and stuff. That's impressive. And I used to really want to do it.
Same. Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, until I started killing more turkeys with a shotgun. I'm like, this is how it's supposed to be. Like, I don't want to shoot one with a bow.
Yep. Not to mention, you get that bird that hangs up at 60. You're like, dang, I wish I had my shotgun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, anymore as the loads become more, advanced.
Yeah.
Shotguns are already advanced.
For sure.
50, 60 yards with a good load is pretty well in the cards.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We've killed many turkeys at 50 plus
Yeah.
with shotgun shells.
Yeah. Which, speaking on that topic, we've been shooting the Longbeard XRs. Who makes that? Is it Winchester?
Yep.
For, I don't even know, 3-4 years. I think 6-shot is what we're running, 3-inch 6-shot.
Yep.
Love those to death. Have never had an issue with them. I know a lot of guys are switching over to that TSS, which I'm interested in, but
Yeah, I know, and it's the price point that a lot of people are still getting hung up on. Is you can switch to the TSS, and I think they said maybe it's $6 a shot, and I think right now the XRs are right around $2.
it's a big
And
difference.
Every turkey I shoot,
Yep.
he's dead.
Yep.
So he's not going to be any more dead with a TSS
It's true.
until
ain't
I
broke.
have a reason. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So until I have a reason to switch, I don't need to. I know a couple people that have said they've had problems with misfires
With the TSS?
on a couple of the XRs.
Oh, really? Like you said, it hasn't happened to us, so I'm not
But nope.
changing it.
I love those things, so
But
I have no intentions of switching.
cool. Well, that was just some of our insight and input on turkey hunting. If you follow us at all or know us at all, you know that we absolutely are crazy about turkey hunting. So this spring, I mean, like I said, we're going to Kentucky, obviously hunting here in Ohio, and then we might hit up some other states with this whole coronavirus thing. We don't even know if we're going to have jobs or school or what. So we'll see kind of what happens. But if you guys have any questions, obviously, shoot us a message as always, and we can put some links in the description about the turkey loads that we shoot and some other gear that we use as far as chasing gobblers go.
Absolutely.
So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. The hatch from 2 years ago was a pretty solid hatch, and for anybody that's watching this that doesn't know what I'm referring to, the turkeys that were basically born that year, a lot of them survived given the weather conditions and just the time of year. That didn't make sense. Time of year.